Hi friends, this is Pastor Matt, and just wanting to talk to you on this first day celebrating Holy Week, after celebrating Palm Sunday and Jesus coming down the Mount of Olives, people saying, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. On the first day after that, in Mark 11:11, it tells us that Jesus enters the temple of Jerusalem that night, and he looks around at everything, but because it's already late, it says he returns with his 12 back to Bethany. He goes back up that same mountain, returns back, and almost starts stirring on what he's going to do the next day. Because what he's going to do is not this spontaneous, chaotic Jesus. It's something that's a planned demonstration. So he comes in verse 15, and it says, on reaching Jerusalem, he enters the temple and he begins driving out all those who are buying and selling. He's going and he's overturning the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and he wouldn't allow anyone to carry their merchandise through the temple courts. And he teaches two things during that time. He says, is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations? A quote from Isaiah 56. But he says, you have made it a den of robbers. A quote from Jeremiah chapter 7. And it tells you that the chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this, and they began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him. And this is happening in the outer court of the Gentiles. The people that were non-Jewish, the only way that they could have access to an encounter with God were in these outer courts. And this is where they're buying and they're selling and they're exchanging, and it's stealing everyone's place and opportunity to engage with God. It would have reeked with animals. It would have been so noisy that people could not prepare themselves to draw closer and engage with God. And not only that, it focuses on the benches of the dove sellers, which were the people that were buying and selling and trading to those who were the poorest in their worship, people that couldn't afford cattle or sheep. And so it's stealing from them this opportunity. So why did Jesus do this? It was a display of judgment that would unpack why the temple itself would no longer be the central way of worshiping and encountering the presence of God. Because when Jesus dies on the cross, it's going to tell us in just a few days that the temple curtain that separated the holy place from the Holy of Holies tears in two from top to bottom. And by doing that, we all now have access to the Shekinah glory of the Lord. And now he is going to dwell inside of us. And that was a gigantic shift. And so when Jesus highlights Isaiah 56, he's talking about this call for justice and openness to all nations to enjoy the full rights to worship God. And he's saying, why are you jamming up this place of worship? Why are you doing this? But when he quotes Jeremiah 7, when he talks about it being a den of robbers, it's not because of them stealing and their trading. It's because of what happened in the time of Jeremiah, where people would be in the temple, but then they would go out and sin and practice idolatry, and they would come back to the temple like it was a place of safety. They would come back and make it like a robber's cave that would protect them, even when they were going out and acting in these criminal, sinful ways. And so when Jesus comes in, he's connecting his actions, what he's doing with the fact that he is now the king. His kingdom is beginning, and he's passionate to open the doors for all and for people to treat their encounter with God with what it's supposed to be. And because that temple veil was torn, we are now the temples that he indwells. And this story takes on a fresh and powerful meaning. Because now when Jesus is going around and seeming chaotic and he's flipping things, now the question is, what is he doing in our lives to draw and challenge us to draw closer with him? And I just want you to think of this. You're going to see some questions in the description below to reflect and pray over. But I want you to think about how many tables Jesus kicked over, how many things he flipped, how long did it take him to turn that whole entire outer court upside down. A lot of people think it's seconds. Some people think it's minutes. I think it possibly took Jesus hours, because this was a huge place, the size of 6 football fields. And there were so many money changers and so many people trading, because 100,000 people could fit in those temple courts. And so how long would it take Jesus to go through and chaotically flip things over in our lives in order to change us? So go ahead and reflect on that, and we look forward to celebrating the rest of this Holy Week with you. Have a great day, and we love you.